Welcome to the Public and Productive Services Committee agenda for January 23rd, gotta remember the year, of 24. On this committee is myself, Chair Mike O'Connor, Councillor Wendy Bosch, Councillor O'Toole, and Mayor Clayton. On our first, we have no delegations. We'll go to reports, service area update. Please take it away, Mr. Chief Lemieux.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So from the Grande Prairie Police Service, the senior leadership team this week is in Medicine Hat and Lethbridge, where they are looking at 2 integrated dispatch centers, and they're conducting recruitment activities. Enforcement services or peace officers have been conducting patrols through their zones to identify and address vehicles parked on snow routes. The removal of these vehicles assists snow clearing operations to run much smoother. And during the fourth quarter of 2023, 5 peace officers received recognition and commendation from both Mobile Outreach and the city's Health and Safety Department for their actions, the actions they took during a critical incident that saved somebody's life. So during these difficult situations, these peace officers all exhibited exceptional qualities that serve as an inspiration in their commitment to the well-being of others. We had a taxi delegation at the last council meeting, and administration was requested to meet with that delegation. So we had the meeting with that delegation last week to clarify their request, and administration considered their concerns and indicated that these concerns would be discussed with council the next time we review the vehicle for hire bylaw. But there is no plan right now to formally review the vehicle for hire bylaw. I think it's due for a review in a year or two. So we did have that meeting with that delegation. From Mobile Outreach, during the recent cold snap, Mobile Outreach collaborated with Housing and Homeless Initiatives, Wapiti House, and St. Lawrence Centre to ensure the safety and well-being of our vulnerable community. Our collective efforts ensured that individuals in need had access to a warm and secure space during the cold spell. From the RCMP, in the next few months, the Grande Prairie RCMP will be engaging several stakeholders on a new multi-agency collaborative initiative aimed at addressing some of the underlying factors associated with street engagement and related social chronic behaviors in the downtown core specifically, but also in other areas of the city. The RCMP are leading this initiative, and they're supported by our Housing and Homeless Initiatives Department. This initiative is very much in its infancy, but we'll keep council updated on this initiative. And on the operations side for the RCMP, I'm pleased to announce that Staff Sergeant Mark McDougall will be taking on the role of operations officer at the Grande Prairie Fire Department. So it's a promotion for him. He's going from staff sergeant to inspector. This is the role that was previously occupied by Peter King until his promotion to Western Area District. So I will make a point to invite Staff Sergeant McDougall to one of our next meetings to introduce him to the committee. So congratulations to Staff Sergeant McDougall on his promotion. He is currently with the Western Area District, but he's been in the Grande Prairie area for several years. So we're excited to have him join the team. That'll happen sometimes in February, so we'll invite him to one of our future meetings. Moving down to Community Knowledge Campus. So on January 11th, in the minus 40-degree weather, 18 brave souls attended the first 55-plus walk and coffee talk program put on in collaboration with Community Social Development. So we're really pleased with that turnout. And this past weekend, January 19th, 20th, 21st, was a very busy time at the Community Care Campus. The Piranha's Winterfest Swim Meet welcomed over 200 swimmers. The 10th annual Meerkat Volleyball Tournament welcomed 84 teams, and the Design Works Center hosted a figure skating competition. So the overall traffic at the CKC this past weekend was over 12,000 people. So a very busy weekend for them. And in terms of memberships at the Eastlink Center, so as of January 1, we had 6,484 Eastlink members and 683 Grand Access Pass members. So those are awesome numbers. And we also had 206 Recreation Access Pass members, which is the program that the city funds at the 75% subsidy. So some great numbers in terms of memberships there. And sports development, wellness, and culture. So I'm pleased to announce the Grande Prairie Courthouse which is currently known as the Center for Creative Arts, that was built in 1957, has received provincial historic resource designation and has been added to the Alberta Register of Historic Places. So that gives us an opportunity to apply for grants in the future for that facility. And at the museum, effective January the 27th, there will be a reduction in hours at the museum based on foot traffic statistics. So on weekends, the museum will now close at 5 p.m. instead of 6 p.m., and the hours of operations will be reevaluated in the springtime. And then lastly, in terms of cross-country ski trails, so with the snowfall on this past few days, on the weekend, the Parks was able to groom cross-country ski trails in South Bear Creek. The best places to start are at the golf course and the driving range, and more trails are being groomed as conditions permit. So signage will be in place for people to clearly identify the routes. So just a new opportunity for people to cross-country, do some cross-country skiing within our city boundaries. That's my report. Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, and if okay, Councillor O'Toole, and then I'll put myself in the queue.
Yeah, thank you very much. That designation, that was about a 2-year process, wasn't it?
It was a process. I'm not sure exactly of the length, but some time ago, council designated that as a local historic building. Now it is provincially recognized.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, and recognizing Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair O'Connor. Really appreciate the update, Chief Lemieux. Wondered in regards to the cross-country ski trails, that's exciting news for the community, and we know that there's a lot of people that really embrace winter, and I think that's an excellent added amenity. Will there be a map online that people can see exactly where, or just tell me how people will learn more about that?
Yeah, so we're just working through that process, but we'll make sure that there is information available online and some external communication, and to let people know more about it. It's a new program, but we're really excited about it. So yes, we will make sure that the information is available.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. My question comes from the Youth Advisory Committee, and the question revolves around the swimming not being open all the times. I had told them that we can't always have staff available to look after the swimming pool. Is that correct?
Certainly, there's a schedule and there are some limitations, but if you give me the details of exactly what the concern is, we'll make sure to get the answer back to the Youth Advisory Committee.
I'll get them to send that information direct to you through Nicole, who is in charge of the Youth Advisory Committee. Thank you. Moving on, if there's nobody else, we will move to 3.2, Proposed Recreation Facility Public Engagement Program, and I'll have Chief Lemieux introduce that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So with regards to this report, I just want to point out that this is an overview of the public engagement process and what we have heard from the community in that particular process. And I also want to advise committee that there'll be a further report coming back to you with some more asking for direction or making recommendations on exact site and detailed design, and that'll come at a later meeting. This particular report is strictly to review with you what we have heard in the engagement, and I'll turn it over to Director Cajolet to conduct that review.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair. In October 2023, administration proposed several site layouts for the proposed recreation facility to committee and council. City Council identified 2 preferred layouts for the proposed facility, which served as the foundation for the public engagement initiative. In November 2023, administration collaborated with RC Strategies to conduct a public engagement aimed at gaining insights into the perspectives of residents as well as the recreation and sport groups regarding the proposed facility. The engagement strategy included 2 surveys, one tailored for recreation and sport groups and another for community members. 2 in-person community discussion sessions were held. The first session focused on the recreation and sport groups, the second session dedicated to local neighborhood residents. Additionally, a virtual stakeholder session was hosted for community partners, and that included representatives from the local school divisions, Northwestern Polytechnic, and the Grande Prairie Regional Recreation Committee. Overall, the engagement program revealed strong support for the proposed recreation facility in Grande Prairie. And I would now like to extend a warm welcome to our partners from RC Strategies to introduce themselves and present the feedback gathered through the engagement program.
Okay, you go ahead online, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Committee, for having us join you today virtually to share our findings with you from the engagement conducted. My name is Megan Carey, and happy to be in front of you all again. I'm a partner with RC Strategies and was co-leading this engagement program with Rob Parks. Rob, I'll hand it over to you to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Megan, and yes, I appreciate the opportunity to come before you and chat about this engagement session. So Rob Parks has done a bit of work with the City of Grande Prairie over the years, and pleased to be back working with the city again. Thanks, Megan.
Thanks, Rob. We have a presentation, and I'm going to share my screen with you now. So hopefully in the room you're able to see my screen.
Yes, I see your screen. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. As mentioned, we are here to share with you the findings from the engagement program that we conducted. To begin with, we want to share our high-level findings and overview, so to highlight those key elements and our key takeaways from the engagement program completed before providing an overview of the engagement conducted, and as well just to highlight some key pieces from the report shared with you. So from our survey that was conducted and from the discussion sessions, it was clear that there is a very high level of support for the facility in the community, both from the potential user groups in which we engaged and with the general public as well. That is not to say that potential concerns were not expressed, but certainly the need for the facility, both from a community perspective, enabling to facilitate public recreation and facilitating public physical activity was very important, but as well for the need for structured recreation and access by these groups to facilitate their regularly scheduled games and tournaments and various events. A key piece that did come through in the public engagement conducted, both at the discussion session and then within the feedback received from the survey, was a desire from the community for the facility to be publicly accessible, and the need for it to accommodate a variety of activities, so not just structured sport or recreation activities, but to accommodate unstructured activity as well. So commonly, we receive comments around hoping the facility would be available for indoor walking, for example. Throughout both tactics, we did present the site layouts, and I'll just show those to you in a coming slide here just as a reminder, but there was certainly a balance of support for both site options. There was slight more support for site option A, but in general, throughout the process, there was a balance of support for both. Certainly, within the engagement conducted with the potential user groups, it was evident that the groups hoped that there would be a consideration for the potential loss of existing amenities. So as you'll see, as when we highlight the site layout, there are existing fields and diamonds on those sites, and the groups were concerned about those loss of amenities, particularly during construction. From the perspective of the community and the public, there was concern around the impact of traffic to the surrounding Avondale community, as well as parking and potential noise levels that might be exacerbated by the facility, both during construction and then throughout operation. And certainly it was indicated that careful study and consideration was going to be needed if the proposed facility were to move forward. So as I mentioned, we'd like to share just some key pieces around both the survey and the discussion tactics that we have implemented to solicit feedback on this potential facility development. So the survey, we had very good response from the public we had a total of 325 responses to our open survey that was conducted in late November and early December. At the same time, we fielded a survey to potential user groups. We had the city administration had sent out a total of 30 invitations to complete the survey, and we did have 10 responses to that survey. In addition to the user group session, so we hosted in late November 2 sessions with the potential user groups and a second session with community members. And as Director Cajolet mentioned, we did as well assist administration in the facilitation of a community partner discussion with the school boards as well as the Grande Prairie Regional Recreation Committee as well. So just as a refresher, these you had council was able to review a total of 5 site options and had narrowed the site options down to 2 preferred options, which we identified as preferred option A and B. We do have, and these were presented to our community members and to the potential user groups, both at the discussion sessions and through the survey. So as you can see here, this is site option A, which we have identified as receiving slightly more support. This was particularly from a community perspective. You'll see here on the screen where it shows the parking could be slightly removed from the residential area, and that was a key point as to why it received more support. Certainly we'll see here with preferred option B or option 5, as from the first 5 you looked at, you'll see here the parking is closer to the residential area, and that was a key concern that was highlighted at both the community discussion session that we hosted as well as the survey responses that we received. So a summary of key findings. As we mentioned, you'll see here there was very strong support for the facility. Only received 3% of not supporting it and 4 undecided. So certainly the majority were supporting this potential facility for the community. But when we did identify and ask for concerns with the proposed facility, and this was all responses were able to provide that, this key element of availability for public use was a key concern. And this was certainly echoed within the discussions that we hosted with the community. And of course, taxation impacts and costs were a secondary key concern here. Overall, in the public survey, there was a balanced support for each. Site A received slightly more support. We did have a high indication of the respondents that indicated they would use the facility if developed, so 91%. Respondents were able to indicate what would be their desired activities if they would participate in the facility. As you can see, an indoor walking track was a highly valued and favored amenity that could be potentially included or an activity they'd want to participate in, as well as the availability of an indoor turf was second, and a playground as well was well favored among the responses received. Our secondary survey was to the potential user groups. We did receive high levels of support for the proposed facility, so all indicated that they highly supported the proposed facility. We did ask the groups why they required additional facility space in Grande Prairie. Of the responses, they were able to select multiple choices, but it was to offer new leagues within their current offerings. Additionally, 4 groups indicated they would like to host tournaments, and they thought this would be a facility that would be able to accommodate that. And 3 indicated it would allow them to meet the waitlist demand that they currently have for their program or league offerings. Within the group survey, there was a balance of support for both Site A and Site B. We did inquire regarding potential partnership and if a group would be interested in partnering with the city in regard to the development of the facility. Most were unsure if they would want to proceed with a partnership, although those who indicated that they may want to were more so in a volunteer capacity, whether that be operations or fundraising support for the facility. Within the discussion session that we hosted, generally there was a level of support for the project, and the level of support really came from that need to meet activity demands within the community, not only today, but recognizing that you are a growing community, and it is important that we think to the future and ensuring that we're meeting the needs of our growing community. Certainly, when looking at desired activities that would occur within the potential facility, having walking opportunities, so a walking track was key, as well as having opportunity to participate in tennis or pickleball, as well as fitness. The discussion around a swimming pool did come up, and the desire for additional aquatic amenities within the community. As we noted when looking at the site layout, Site A was the preferred site, and this was primarily due to concerns around parking, as well as increased traffic that would impact the Avondale community members. In our discussion session with the potential user group, again, there was certainly a high level of support for the facility, recognizing that the groups indicated their need for additional space to facilitate sport and activity within the community. There was certainly a concern that the facility needed to be a sufficient size to accommodate multiple activities at once, but also to ensure that we were planning for the future and looking at the availability to accommodate growing population and growing demand for sport, organized sport and recreation opportunities. There was a discussion from the user groups that we needed to consider all sports, not just our turf activities, but thinking through others such as pickleball and tennis, and to think about how we could have a multi-purpose facility that would allow for different sports and activities to take place. There was mixed support for both layouts, and as I mentioned, that there was certainly concern raised about the loss of the existing amenities on the Avondale site currently. So thank you very much for your time today, and Chair is certainly open to addressing any questions that you may have of us.
Okay, I see Councillor Brussy. I'm not sure about anybody online. So thank you, Megan, for your thorough report. I appreciate it. And so Councillor Brussy, then Councillor Bosch.
Through the chair, apologies, I'm unable to hear you currently.
My apologies, new technology, and I pressed the wrong button. I was just saying, anecdotally, I know in the neighborhood I'm seeing very different opinions on this based on the life space people are at. If you've got people that have children, seem to have a very different opinion than people who no longer have children at home. I'm wondering if you did if you captured any demographic info in your survey, and if so, if you notice any actual database trends in different life spaces having different opinions.
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Bessie, for your question. So we did capture some demographic questions within our community survey. We can certainly go back. Our initial sub-segmentation of the analysis did not indicate any great differences, but we can certainly go back and reconfirm that. You are right, when we were in the session, certainly there was different positions that were put forth based on the different life stages of individuals and the types of activities that they may want to include in the facility.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Committee Member O'Toole first. Oh, wait, excuse me. Madam, go ahead, Ms. Bosch.
I just trumped you.
How's that? Thank you for the report. My question is in regards to the capacity of the potential dome structure. There was a fair amount of responses in regards to indoor turf sport and the walking track, but there was also responses for gymnasium spaces or hard court. Are you familiar that within a dome structure that hard courts or gymnasium spaces are doable in that type of structure?
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bosch, for your question. So when we were formulating the questions within the survey and facilitating the discussions, we wanted to take this from a blank space. Of course, did not want to come at this as though any decision had been made. So it was certainly presenting the different activities that could occur in a dome space and seeing where there may be support for them. Certainly, there are examples of dome facilities in which hard courts are included and gymnasium space as well. There are examples in Calgary that you could look to or that administration could potentially research, as well as facility examples throughout Ontario and most of Eastern Canada that accommodate space for hard courts and gymnasiums.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Ms. Cajolet, Director, did you have some input?
No, through the chair, thank you. I think Ms. Carey answered the question.
Okay, thank you.
Did you say that you could do a combination, or did you say one or the other?
Through the chair.
You could do, potentially they are typically one or the other. I'm not familiar of any examples that would have both, but we could certainly provide direction to administration as potential examples that we're familiar with.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving your report today and an update. I was one of the people that attended the Composite High School when you did your presentation and regarding the Avondale site and the other sites that are in the community that were looked at. And I just want to give you a kudos. It was very well organized, run. Our staff and your staff presented really well. And so with all that, thank you very much for the report today and doing a very successful job on the nights that you had your open houses.
Thank you. And recognize Councillor Palat.
Thanks, Chair O'Connor. My questions are just, there was a stat in here that 48% of people were concerned about available public use, and there was another comment about the cost of the facility. My question is, are these just general comments of people, or did we actually have any information here about what we would be charging and who would be able to use this facility? Were these just general concerns, or did we have data that said we're going to charge this much, or how this facility is going to be utilized?
Thank you. Through the chair. No, it was just general comments. There's been no planning at that level of detail yet by administration.
Okay, no, and I appreciate that's kind of what I thought, but I just wanted to clarify. My other question is more for admin moving forward. I appreciate we're going to have different probably engagement sessions on this, but with the one being brought up about we're losing a field if we put this somewhere else as a concern, are we going to come back with a subsequent report at some point that would show options on the current comp site of what could go there, or are there facilities where we could put that in? Realizing as in our next report, seeing how we're utilizing our field space quite well. I can understand the concerns of that. The location makes sense to me, but I do want to be cognizant that we're going to lose a field. So do we have a future report coming saying where potential options and what funding would look like if council wanted to replace that field?
Thank you. Through the chair, administration does anticipate that would be the next step. Certainly with the existing leisure center site that is currently under construction and demolition, there will be some opportunity to potentially invest in some field space or a specific type of field space in that area. And additionally, administration could look to other areas of the city.
Okay, so that'll be a whole separate engagement level or a separate report that'll come specifically about that.
Through the chair, yes, administration will bring back additional information related to that.
Thank you.
That's good. And those were some of the comments from former Councillor Lainers. he suggested that that area straight north of the residence on 111th, that with that they put the parking there and then open that to grass fields, so other sports. And I thought that was a pretty good idea at the time. So I hope we'll hear John in his request. I don't know how you would say that any other way, sorry. Any other questions? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Bosch.
Thank you. I'll move into the business. I move that committee receive the proposed recreation facility public engagement report for information.
That is in order. I call the question.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
And that was carried unanimously. Excellent work. Thank you, Megan and Rob. Appreciate your report. And thank you, Director Casuale, for all the work that you put in on this. Thank you so much. We'll now move on to item 3.3. Do we have, yeah, we did the motion. We did that. Okay, perfect. Okay, 3.3, recreation and culture. And I'm assuming...
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll do a very brief, quick introduction. So this item has been in front of committee and also in front of council. We were asked to make some tweaks, so I'm going to ask Director Casuale to review the adjustments and the tweaks that have been made to the strategy.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Casuale.
Thank you. Through the chair, the Recreation and Culture Strategy was developed to ensure the provision of high-quality recreation and culture programs, services, and infrastructure within our community. Additionally, it is a roadmap and operational framework that embodies our commitment to the well-being and vibrancy of our community. 5 key themes emerged, shaping the strategy, aligning it with resident needs and future investment priorities. The strategy is deep-rooted in collaboration and is a result of comprehensive engagement with resident stakeholders and community partners. Additionally, 4 major initiatives, termed as Big Plays, have been identified to further enhance recreation and culture offerings, aligning with Council's strategic priorities and the evolving needs of the community. The strategy will be a guiding document for future planning and decision-making about investments in recreation and culture facilities. It focuses on setting priorities and recommendations rooted in the city's long-term capital plan, while also shaping our municipal service delivery goals and partnerships to align with the interests of residents and community collaborators. Some of the recent revisions to the strategy include the integration of the city's land acknowledgement, updates to statistical and historical event data, the addition of the Activity and Reception Center to the facility inventory, inclusion of some facility utilization details, and the addition of a timeline to the strategy recommendations near the end of the report. It is anticipated that strategy implementation will occur in phases, and strategic recommendations with proposed metrics and timelines have been identified in the report. Administration has worked on multiple action items from the strategy and remains committed to its ongoing implementation in the years ahead. Administration recommends that committee and council adopt the recreation and culture strategy as presented.
Wonderful. Any questions? Wow. Well, that's very good. I see no one online. I see no one in council. And thank you for all the corrections and doing the work that you've done. This has been in the queue for quite some time. So really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Councillor O'Toole.
Mr. Chair, if you're ready for business, I would recommend council adopt the recreation and culture strategy as presented.
Thank you. That's in order. I will call the question. And Councillor O'Connor in favor. It's not coming up on my screen. Thank you. That was carried unanimously. With that, we will move on. Thanks again for the presentation. There's no correspondence. There's no other business. And we're looking at bylaw and policy review, policy 207 and 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll ask Katie to walk us through that report.
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. So administration has recently reviewed Policy 207 and Policy 214. Policy 207 establishes responsibilities for user groups to apply for a liquor license for private functions. We've had a number of facilities close and new ones open, so amendments include removal of the Leisure Center, the Heritage Discovery Center, and the Coca-Cola Center, and the addition of Design Work Center, the Activity and Reception Center, Hanson Lincoln Field, and Macklin Field. Policy 214, which is the public art policy, just required minor amendments to align with changes to organization structure and naming conventions, and there were also some similar adjustments in Policy 207. So administration is requesting that committee recommend council approve Policy 207 and 214 as amended.
Okay, thank you very much. Open for questions. Committee first. Councillor O'Toole.
No, I got no questions. I'm just glad that we're being more modern here and having more options for the people that are renting the facility or using the facility for sure. Thank you.
Sir, I'll have a question. Were there any concerns going forward of issues, and does this make the job easier for your department in managing facilities?
Yes, thank you for the question. So currently in the policy, any requests that are outside of the policy have to go through the chief officer. So it definitely slows down the process and just puts an extra step in for user groups.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Seeing no other questions, nobody online. So who would like to do the business? Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Chair. I move that committee recommend council approve amendments to Policy 207, the alcohol management policy, and Policy 214, the public art policy. And just speaking to this feels like a lot of housekeeping, changing locations and names and titles. So thank you for the work on that.
Okay, that motion is in order. We'll call the question. And that was carried unanimously. So with that, we'll go to the item 7, outstanding items list, and I'll pass that to Chief Lemieux.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would recommend we remove item 1258, the recreation culture strategy, which was dealt with at today's meeting. That's the only change.
Okay, and I'd like to have someone make a motion as amended. Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Chair. I move the committee receive the January 23 outstanding items list as amended for information.
Thank you. That motion is in order. Call the question. And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll adjourn the meeting and send regrets for Mayor Clayton. She is having to go to some sessions right now, and Councillor Berg will also drop off. Any comments, Mayor Clayton?
Sorry, we're not dropping off yet. We'll let the group know when we do. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.